Let it grow if it needs to grow a little bit. Get a cloud that kind of floated off that way. Why not? Just throw it out there, see what happens. So soft, otherwise we lose everything, right? It'll all mix together as the one big thing. You can get a little bit of liquid white and just pop in little detail angles. Doesn't really matter much what it looks like. Hi guys, welcome to Paint with Josh. Today we did a 16 by 20 inch gorgeous seascape, my goodness, on a Wednesday, and it turned out fantastic. So I hope you're obviously excited about painting this one. That's why you clicked on the link. So check the description down below. Make sure you find all the colors we need. Get your canvas nice and wet. Get ready to throw some paint on it. We're gonna do it just like this. Holy cow, we're back again. It's Paint with Josh back in the studio. I'm so happy that you came back. It just feels like a hole in my heart since you left. Never leave me again, right? So this is Paint with Josh. I've been painting for about 3 years, and today we're going to get onto this 16 by 20 inch canvas. You can see I've already prepped it with black gesso. We have our white gesso on the top, black gesso on the bottom. Let's go through the colors we have today. Van Dyke brown, which is the darker color browns, dark sienna, cadmium yellow, which is the brightest of the yellows, bright red, yellow ochre, which is almost the darkest of the yellows, phthalo green, that sea green color, phthalo blue, the brighter color of the blues, alizarin crimson, midnight black, and titanium white over here. Now we're going to set this down because we have to prep our canvas with Bob Ross liquid white. Looks a lot like that. Fantastic stuff. It just really stays wet and keeps our canvas nice and slick and allows us to go back and blend colors and do all sorts of stuff. So we don't need a whole lot, right? I'm just going to kind of lightly dab it in different places across the canvas, and that ensures that it's not going to be too thick in one area and that we're going to have to spread it too far, right? The best part about these black gesso paintings is there's not a whole lot of white area that we have to cover. Therefore, there's not a whole lot of liquid white needed, right? Now we're going to switch, clean this brush, and throw some liquid clear on here. Nice and wet. You can always tell. I like to look at it from the side just to see if it's wet enough. You can go back and work it, and once it's all uniformly wet, you can take your finger and you'll have just about, there we go, just about enough. You can see your fingerprint or see the dimples in the canvas. Not a whole terrible too much amount of paint, right? Let's see. Almost seemed like it was a little bit too less in here. But if you don't have enough on there, it's definitely not going to work. It's a very fine line between enough and too much. Let's test it again. There we go. That's what you want to see. All the little dimples in the canvas, all that great stuff. Let's wash this brush off because we don't want to get any white down into our black section. If you've never seen how we beat the brush down here, it's an old nasty bucket that's got a golf ball basket down in the bottom of it. That's literally what I had in my garage when I first started painting. And I was like, well, this will work. And it's like 3 years later now, I still have the same old nasty golf ball basket, right? It's gross. Really foul. All right, let's take a little bit of our liquid white. We're going to get it out of our jar onto the knife and just dab some into our little extra jar lid that we don't throw away. It's our petri dish is what I call it. And it sure looks like one. It's all nasty inside there. Ugh, it's foul. All right, I don't want the stuff to run too far away. So let's put our white away. I'm not going to need that anymore. And even though I'm wearing gloves, I still don't want to transfer any paint anywhere. So we're going to try to keep the gloves clean, right? Josh is a clean freak. What is he doing? All right, we've tabbed our brush. We've got it nice and dry. And now we're going to take our Bob Ross liquid clear. Looks a whole lot like that. Brand new jar that Linda sent us. And if you're like, what do you mean did Linda send it? So you can go visit the Paint with Josh Amazon wish list by finding my Linktree link. And that has all of the links on it, on my YouTube page, my Facebook page, Twitter, Pinterest, all that stuff. It's got all the links on my Linktree link. So go find that in the comments section or the description down below. The comments section. Where are we on Facebook? Go find that in the description down below, and you'll be able to find my Amazon wish list. See all the things that I need in order to keep putting out these free videos. It costs money for the supplies, right? You guys know that. So if you like the free videos that we throw out every single Wednesday, then make sure you go over to the Amazon wish list and help me continue to paint, right? Grab a new brush or some new paint colors or some new liquid clear, some new liquid white. All of it goes towards all these videos that it really helps. Since we put that wish list out, it's been so much easier now to get supplies and keep making all these free videos for you guys. Watch this. We're going to swipe across, right? Not a whole lot of color comes off because it's clear. All right, swipe it again. Swipe it again. Bam. That is not a whole lot of paint, but you don't want to have too much on the canvas, right? I want to scrub it all off, but we don't want to have too much. Same amount came off. Bam. Good to go. All right, let's clean off this brush. It's got all the clear all over it. Right into the thing, into the bucket. Bam, nice and fresh. Fresh like my fade. Woo! And what other tutorialist is as good looking as me? Who knows? Who knows? That's who. All right, now I want to make a nice sunset up in the sky over here using our solo cup technique. And we're gonna maybe throw our sun off in this side, maybe have our crashing wave go over to the right. It'd be really cool. Make our sunset go this way. So, in order to do that, what we're gonna need is to put our clear away so it doesn't tip over. My goodness, that would be a bad thing. I heard somebody commented the other day and said, oh, I tipped my liquid white jar onto the floor. I was like, oh no, I've been there. I've so been there. I've tipped my, my paint thinner cups. All this nasty paint thinner, tipped it right onto the floor. Right in the middle of a show, too. So funny. So funny, one of the older shows. Okay, let's get our 1H brush. You don't need to have a 1H brush. You could simply use one of these brushes right here. This is like the very skinny version of the 1H brush, right? That came in this Artify set. Craig sent us, who was it? Oh, I'm looking so terrible right now. Mark Anderson. Mark Anderson sent us these, right? Very cool brushes. They're like 25 bucks. You get 24 brushes, and they came with two little kind of Bob Ross 1H brushes. So they're very soft, very thin. They get into little skinny places. They're really cool. They're called Artify. You can find them on my Amazon shop, amazon.com/shop/paintwithjosh. We've got all sorts of supplies and cool stuff over there that I use and I can vouch for, like these brushes. These brushes, GAC Doctor, right? I mean, I don't know how else to say it. GACDR. Artist brushes. These are fan brushes. These ones came from Jackie Casa. They're fantastic. I love them. I've been using them. Look, I'm already starting to change. We're going to actually use them today. So if you don't have them, they're a real good fan brush set. The hog hair, you get nice, kind of sturdy, firm bristle brushes. And that's what I love the most. All right, we're going to get a little bit of yellow right here onto our brush, just pulling it down. And don't worry that if it's too close to the red, because we're going to want to mix them anyway. A little bit more yellow than red, though. See the difference here? The difference in the color? What is Josh's favorite tagline? Oh, differences in color. That's right. You are paying attention. Good. Okay, now we're going to take our old solo cup. This is a very high-tech piece of equipment right here. So grab you a solo cup, and let's decide, I don't know, maybe we'll stick it halfway into the water. The black section is going to be where our water is, okay? So we're going to come around the side, just lightly dropping, a little bit of pressure. You get that yellow circle about all the way down to our water. We don't want to really go too much further than that. And we're going to pull it out and in at the same time, blending that hard line away to where you can't tell where it was. And look at this liquid white. It allows these thick oils to blend. Pull it away from the edge and get it to blend outwards towards our, it's just reaching out in our sky, just like a clock. We're going to go on this side. We'll pull this side out. Just like he used to do when we were kids, right? Make our sun like that. Very cool, right? Now, we're going to start to take that as well and pull it in from the side, every single side, just like a minute or an hour hand on a clock, pulling it from every direction. The patented sunset Paint with Josh technique, right? Man, you get this very cool light circle in where our very bright center is. And you can take these guys and blend them away so you don't have those hard lines, but the more you bring it into the center, the less of that little bright area that you're going to see, okay? We're going to save that for a gorgeous little sun that we're about to put in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. Oh, it's going to be fun. Look, we can even take some of that lighter color. We'll eventually put it down here into our water. Okay, now we're going to put our cup down. We no longer need the cup, the Paint with Josh solo cup technique, right? Now we're going to come over here. Need to make it a little bit darker, so we're going to go into the next color, dark. Maybe let's get a little bit of that yellow ochre in there as well. So we're going to have these different colors in our sunset. Maybe start to dump it in over, ooh, look at that. Ooh, I like it. Pull it in over here maybe. Start to dump it in wherever we want, not really putting it on too hard, right? It's going to end up blending outwards. So we're going to dump it in, maybe come over here, get a little bit of the red, maybe a smidge of crimson over here, just so it's a little bit different. Ooh, a little bit darker, right? It's got a little difference in color on this side. Try not to cover up our mountains too terribly much, right? And you're like, oh Josh, this looks horrible. It's like a little kid's version of a sunset. Fear not, because as we blend all these little colors out, they're gonna go so soft, like silk. Oh, it's gonna be gorgeous. It's gonna be gorgeous. There goes my maul stick falling all over the place, right? Now, as we go this way, we're gonna get darker. So we're gonna go into our crimson, maybe a bit of that red, bring it over here into our crimson side, start chucking in some deeper, darker tones that are out here, right? Doesn't even have to go all the way to the edge or the bottom or wherever. You just leave it. Leave it just like that. Come into the blue and the black. Mix them all right here together. All these three dark colors. Blue, crimson, black. All on the brush at the same time. Ooh, look at that. It really got deep and dark up there. That's why you start out way out on the corner before you come in. Now we have our very vibrant, deep, dark sky over there. Fantastic. It's very cool. Very cool. All right, now we're going to take our 2-inch brush. First, let's wash this 1-inch brush. Let's wash this old puppy. Get it ready to use later. My 1-inch brushes are getting very short. The more and more you use them, the more the bristles come out. So if you guys could check out my Amazon store, my Amazon wish list, give me another 1-inch brush. That would be fantastic. I love you forever. Very cool. Okay. Now we're going to take our dry 2-inch brush that we haven't used in a long time. Still got a little tiny bit of wetness in it from drying it on our beater bucket there. And we're going to go right in with no color. Going to go right into the center of that sunny area and just start to blend out. Now once we're out here, we're kind of pulling some of that yellow out, pulling some of the red in. The more pressure you have, the more of that red's going to go further and further inside. The lighter pressure you use, the less it's going to grow and blend together. Look at that. Oh, tell me that's not fantastic. All right, staying away from all those deep dark colors though until we're done blending in here. You can even bring some of that darker red underneath, just underneath the sun. Just changes it a little bit. All we're doing, just changing things up the smallest little touch, right? Now that we're out here in our deeper, darker section, we don't want to come back and let all that color grow back in. Right? Look, just from the lightest swipes, it really wants to start growing in from the deep darkness. And now that we're out here into all the blue and black and crimson, just let it run wild. Look at that. Right, but it's going to want to grow, so be very careful where you go with your colors, right? So we want this crimson to come out a little bit, or the blue to come in a little bit more. As we grow down with our sky. Very cool. Cool little things, cool little changes and differences. Let's wash all the deep dark blue off of that color, off of that brush now. Don't want to have that when we go back to our yellow section. Dry it off. After you beat the devil out of it, dry it off every single time. It doesn't need to be 100% fully dry, but you want to dry it off. All right, come back into that lighter area, just blending where our colors meet. The more and more you blend them, the softer everything will become. Fantastic little things start to happen. You just kind of decide when you're finished. When do you want to stop? When does yours look good? Yours look good how it is there, then you stop there. Every time my brush is on the canvas doesn't mean your brush has to be on the canvas, right? Very softly. Just kind of changing it, messing with things, changing it up. Now we got to go back and wash that brush off again for the last time, for a minute anyway. That's the most fun part about the technique though, is washing the brush. Gotta be the most fun part. Woo! Look at that bright sunlight out there. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a little filbert brush. This one came out of that Artify set that I just showed you, that 24-piece set. You get a little filbert brush, get a little bit of white paint on it, just on the tip, right? Don't need a whole huge amount. Now we're gonna come in here and we're gonna press right inside the center bit of our brightest area and just start to turn the brush and let the bristles roll around into a circle and then pull away. That's it. You get this very bright little sun over there. That's that thick bit of paint. There we go. Very, very, very bright sun. And the more and more you mess with it, the bigger it's going to get, first of all. You're going to have to change your shape, rotate your brush, flatten it out, let it grow if it needs to grow a little bit, but you want it to be a circle. There we go. Beautiful. Fantastic. All right, and the more you mix with it, the more it's going to mix with the color underneath. which is why in this instance we left that as white as we could, right? And that way it would really stand out bright. Very cool. Dry our brushes off before we put them away. Now, why don't we come in, we're going to take our, which one's this? It's already size 10. I was going to say, I can't even see it already. All right, now in our lightest area, in order so, to have our clouds kind of blend like our colors have blended, we're going to use a lighter color. So maybe a little bit of the red, maybe a little bit of that yellow. Just make a little bit of orange right here. Don't want to have too terribly much on the brush. Don't want it to be too bright red. You know what I mean? Use that yellow ochre too. Just make it all into this kind of orangey sort of color, just like that. Right? And that's going to be our kind of faraway shadows. So maybe there was a bit of the moon, a bit of the cloud over here, and it just starts to grow and bounce, jiggle. Maybe it grew out flat, just like that. Right? Take that guy. All we've really done is made a mess on our canvas. That's really it. We just literally made a mess, right? Now, in order to make that mess look like a cloud, we're going to take our 1-inch brush, just with the tip corner, right? The top of the bristles, way up here. Not this whole brush, though, just the top. And we're going to start to mix it up until it starts to turn into a cloud-like shadow, right? We're not going to mix every line. We want some areas to be harder, darker. We want some areas to be lighter, more fluffy, right? Some we can just pull straight off to the side. You can decide where the bottom of your cloud is. Whatever you want to do, however you want yours to look, you can change it and mix it and do all sorts of stuff. And that's literally the fun part. Why don't we take the other half of this brush? All right, we'll get our white on this half, spin it over, flip it over this way. All right, just get a little bit of white on one side, a little bit of our color on the other side, and then we can come back here with the same brush and just dump in a little bit of white, not over the entire shadow, right? Got to have some areas, maybe we pop out a little bit away from the shadow. Yeah, something up here. Bam, bam, bam. A little bit, anywhere that you think the light would sort of hit as it kind of drifted by that sun, right? It sits out there and drifts all day long. Look at that. Mixing it up, not covering everything, not covering all those deep, dark shadows, very lightly, because the more we mix, the more it's going to want to disappear. Mix, 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 mix. Pull it away, slide it away, shape it, however you want it to look, right? If you want the bottom to be more straight, make it more straight. If you want it to look like it's falling down with rain off in the distance, you can do that as well. Very cool little things, okay? Now let's wash both those colors off this brush, since we were cool enough to put both on at once. Saving time, right? Very neat, simple little way to do a cloud. Now we can throw something off in here, we can do all sorts of different things. Let's take our palette knife, whatever this is. I'm going to show you. I had a request on how to load the knife, okay? So we're going to pull it out. I hope you guys can see this. I'm going to pull it out flat, just like that. Maybe we'll put it over here. And then, like Bob used to cut a knife through, I'm literally just scraping up a little teeny tiny amount of it. Smallest little bit, especially if we're going to do like a far off kind of contrail. You want to have it at the right angle, not perfectly straight, you know what I mean? But not too terribly on an angle either. And with our dry brush, one swipe, good to go. Right? It can be sort of wavy. You don't want it too terribly wavy, but it's never perfectly straight up there in the sky either. And that's my favorite part. Anything that's not perfect is my favorite thing to paint. Okay, let's take a little bit of just plain white. Just a little bit of plain white. Maybe we can hide, you see how there are these hard lines in between? Right? Maybe we can take a little bit of that white and just kind of break up your eye. Let it feed its way through those different colors. Okay? Just like that. Another good, take our 1-inch brush very, very, very lightly, because there's no shadow to play with. All this white wants to disappear very quickly. And just like that, we've kind of hidden where our transition of colors were, right? Something that Bob never told me when we were painting with him, right? Not painting with him, but painting from the TV show anyway. He never told you where he would put stuff and why. I'm trying to give you all the cool little techniques and tell you just exactly why we do the things we do. So hopefully you're enjoying it. And if you are, make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell, so anytime we put out a new video, bam, you're just right there ready to learn, okay? Right here, back and forth on the brush. And maybe, who knows, there was a little bit right where our transition of colors are right here again. Maybe there was a little bit of cloud that kind of floated off that way. Why not? Just throw it out there, see what happens. And what's very cool is when you start in a light area and go out into a dark area, you get this layer of depth. It makes the deep darkness look like it's so much higher than our clouds are, right? Very lightly, again, we don't want to overdo it, we don't want to overmix. Just so lightly until you really can't tell what is the cloud and what is sky. Is this whole thing a cloud that we just can't really tell because it's not getting hit perfectly? What's going on? Let's take another little brush. We'll get a little bit of crimson, a little bit of that reddish color, and just underneath this guy, very lightly, just going to add in a few little bits of that bottom color, and then do the same exact thing. Just mix them up, make them soft. That's going to allow a little bit of kind of depth in with that cloud. A little bit of shadowing, a little bit here and there. Very cool little thing. Very cool. We got our whole little section over here we can play with. So why don't we now go into our blue and crimson and black pile. We had our really dark purpley pile because now we're out into the mix out here, right? And maybe again there was just a few little things. We wanted to start growing out here, living out amongst the sky, just watching the day go by, living out here, right? Look at how dark they are. And they have to be this dark because, oh, wow, because you've got all that real deep dark sky out there, right? And if it's not that dark, it's not going to stand out. Maybe we had a little bit way off in the distance, coming from way down under there. And what's really cool is now we have all that backdrop shadow. We can come in and light it up. Look at this. Very cool little wispy cloud. All sorts of depth, distance, differences in color, all sorts of things happening in this guy. Right? Let's start down here in our lighter section. Just mix it up just so softly that you can't really tell what's going on back there. So soft, otherwise we lose everything, right? It'll all mix together as the one big thing. Bam, 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 bam. Just let it grow like crazy. It's coming up our mountain, it's so big. And we could have that whole cloud just keep going if we wanted to. Again, that's why we use a little, very little amount of paint, but you have all this depth and distance inside the clouds back there. Very cool. Let's swipe up across our whole painting with a nice clean dry brush over to the side, nice and softly. Bam, got this very cool thing. Very cool little thing. We could even lose that whole mountain back there and never miss it again. All right, now, what we're going to do is put our undercolors down underneath here. What do we want our ocean to look like, right? Do we want it to match the sky? Do you not want it to do that? What do you want yours to look like? So I need to have a little bit of crimson in mine because I love a bit of crimsony water. It just really helps light up our ocean and everything. Oh, it's fantastic, right? Oh, deep crimsony right here in the middle. You can see it. Really trying to lay it in and just stretch it. Stretch it out. And then as we hit it with our white paint, then that's when the magic happens. Right? Trying to stretch it back here. There we go. Just to cover that little bit of horizon line that was black back there. Okay, why don't we take a little bit as we're coming into the shore. Why don't we go phthalo green? But let's wash our brush first. You want to get the crimson off the brush before the phthalo green. When you mix crimson and phthalo green together, they will create like a gray color, which is not really what we want for this painting. So now the brush is nice and clean and dry again. We'll come in here to our phthalo green section. And then we're going to have to put this palette down right over here. And let's say we got our phthalo green bit. It's going to be right in there. Again, we don't want them to mix together too much, so keep them separate. Keep them separate, but you want to have them both there. Very cool. Very cool little bit of phthalo green. So we have our crimson, and we've got our phthalo green right down here. And you guys can sort of see it, I guess. Okay, now let's take for the base, the very bottom, why don't we throw our dark Sienna brown and our Van Dyke brown together and make a nice deep dark color. Maybe a little bit of blue in there too. Why not? Why not? Just in case anything lights up. All right, got our brownish sandy water down in here. A little bit more brown. Gotta have a little bit more. We want it to stand out as our beach, right? And you don't have to cover the entire canvas. Leave some areas nice and dark as well. Now we've got our 3 bands. We can start to work our way forward. Very cool. Very cool. Just like that. Remember, you always got to dab it off. Always. Okay. Now, we're going to come back to our fan brush that has the dark color on it. We need to make our little mountains that almost disappeared. We've got to put those guys back here. So, let's see. We can make them as high as we want. You can make them just the same as the one that was there before. Just have it feed down into the water. Maybe it's an old volcano back there or something. I never like them to be super pointy at the top, though. Let it have a bit of slope. It's got to go off to the side. All right? Come down. Just mushing in a little bit of that darker color. Now we're going to take our 1-inch brush, and this is where our shaping comes in with our details and our shadows, depending on how you pull the brush, depends on what your mountain looks like, right? Fantastic. You can leave all those cool little things in there just like that. Doesn't have to be super straight, but just that difference from that light color to the dark color just gives me an idea. It's very cool. Very cool. You can go on these guys way off. They were so far away. You really don't need much detail. Just make sure they're covered in, right? And then we'll throw some water down in front of them, and they'll be very far away in the distance. Very far. Same thing. Grab those guys, just flatten them out. Flatten it out, just like that. Now we've got a lot of room we can play with, right? Okay, let's take our brush that just has the white on it. We're going to mix in a little bit of our yellowy, reddish, orange color. Right? Come over here, back again, grab a little bit more white, just to brighten it up. And now, we're going to come in and decide. First, we know where our horizon line is, way off in the distance back there. Secondly, we have to decide what's going to be bright. Where the bright area is going to be, where the dark area is going to be. Right? We have our sun that starts to come in. Doesn't have to go all the way to the edge, right? Really doesn't. Because as we spread it, take our 1-inch brush and start to spread, it's going to grow. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to put your bright areas all the way to the edge, because we can just take them and push them to the edge that way. Only light up what we really want to see. Fantastic. Fantastic. Very cool. You don't even need to overdo it, right? Let's say there was another little bit. Maybe we had this wave that was like here, and then it was off this way. So we had just a couple little things. Started to pull back. This side came up over here, and then down again, right? Just those little things. That's all you got to do. Little differences. Pull it off to the side. Don't pull it straight up. Pull it to the side. Right? This guy, we're pulling to this side. Pulling to this side. And that way we've got some water we can start to play with there. Okay, I want to take a little bit of our dark color, because you guys know what I like to do. A little bit of dark in there, right at the bottom. Just on with the knife, just kind of mushing it, turning the edge, rolling away. And then as we go back and put some white on top of that guy, it's going to look like he's got some height to him, some depth. Right over the top, right? You got to have that little bit of darkness, a little bit of light. Maybe it comes up, goes down on this side. All depends on what you want it to look like. And then again, you come back in and you can shape it. That little bit of darkness, though, is going to give it a little bit of a lip. It's very cool. Very cool. Don't want to do too much, though. All right, let's come in with our next little guy here. Wiggle our fan brush back through the paint. Get a nice little hatchet blade, our little axe blade right there. And let's say we had another one. Maybe he came up over here. So he's going to come like that. And he's going to come down. He's going to come up again. He's going to come down. And he's going to go off that way. Very cool. All you really need, right? Take it very lightly, pull it back, but don't lose the darkness in between. That's our best friend. Don't lose him. Don't lose that darkness back in there, right? Those are our little friend, our little wave buddies that are coming in. Very cool. Spin this guy, take him back that way. Just pushing him off into the distance. Neat little things you can do with just a little bit of paint and a little bit of an idea, right? There we go. Just play with it until it looks like water. It's got to be nice and choppy and gross. That's what makes the water fun. A little bit of a line back there, and now we've got so many waves just coming in on top of each other. It's fantastic. Now we're going to take our fan brush again, just freshly loaded up with paint. And why don't we do, let's see, you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to put it right here on top of this guy. So we're going to come in just like this, and that's going to be the tip of our wave, right? Except we got to come up a little bit higher. There we go. Now it's going to roll over into its little shape, right? That's going to be our foaming, crashing bit of water. So now we got to rotate over, rotate, 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 rotate until it starts to look like a wave. Kind of starting, pulling down, starting over to the side, pull down, over to the side, pull down. Just like that until it starts to break and look like water. Right? Angle's most important. It is literally the most important thing you can do is get the angle right. And if you go back and you're very light about it, you can add just a little bit of kind of wavy, textury highlights on top of the water. Just by being very light, touching it very lightly. There we go. Now remember, it's all about the S shape. It's kind of a stretched out, elongated S. Now we need to really brighten up the eye of our wave in here, okay? So put a little bit of a dot. It's going to grow itself out this way as we sit and brighten it up. So we're going to take our 1-inch brush, really start to brighten up that section of the wave. And all of a sudden you got the sun kind of beaming through right there in this nice bright area. Right, you can go back and add more white. Just try not to lose that dark line in between these two areas of light. Right? That's all you need, just like that. Nice simple little wave. Now let's come back with our dark colors, our dark mixture of our black and crimson and blue. Just get them all mixed up on the brush, right? Bam, 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 bam. Nice dark purpley color. And then we decide where, where's our foam kind of starting to fall. And get all this crashing water starting to come and roll at us, right? Just like that. Coming down. Remember, we want to maintain this little line of dark that's underneath there. And that helps it look like it's rolling on top, especially when we come back and hit it with the with our highlights. You come down here, take your darkness, just kind of fill up the rest of that black area. You don't need to cover it all. Just fill it up. Just fill it up a little bit. Now we're going to come into our little bit of liquid white container, our old nasty little bit of liquid white container. All right, come up into here just so it's nice and wet and sticky. And we're going to come up, just start popping little bits of water in as we go. Starting to change and roll over. Over here it's starting to splash and get all crazy. Just like that. Fantastic. Right? The more you do, the more it starts to look all the same. You can get a little bit of liquid white and just pop in little details as they're falling down. Just makes it look a little bit more water-like to me anyway. Very cool. Very cool. A couple little dabs of white and you get these cool little droplets of water. Very neat. Same thing over here. You get all these differences in color as well. You get the super bright white, the blue that it's mixing with, all the things that are happening across the edges. The wave is about to shoot off the edge of the canvas. Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's wash this brush off. Right into the bucket. These brushes are fantastic. There's only been a couple bristles that have come out. They're awesome. Awesome sauce. All right, let's grab our long script liner brush out of that Artify kit and a little bit of liquid white, and we're just going to make a little bit of a mess, right? Just kind of bouncing it in, rolling in that water line. And then as we come out here, it's not going to be the most perfect straight thing you've ever seen, right? It's a little bit of wave. It's not going to be perfectly straight. You can even take some of these guys, if we can just be just so light enough. You have some of them do, oh. We start to piece together how we want our wave to look. Very cool. I can see it coming together. Just very lightly, right? Almost ending at the same place every time. We don't need to have this crazy super. Right, what if we get a little bit of that dark color? Drag some of those dark lines in over the eye of our wave, like a little shadow. Just a little bit of a shadow, so small and so light that you can't even really tell where it's coming from, what it is, and it's starting to grab its way up. Very neat. Very, very cool. Now let's do the same thing with our fan brush again. Using the same brush throughout this whole painting. A little bit of white. And let's come down here, right? We got our water where it's starting to get sucked back up into the wave. Start to connect all of our dots, and the more it goes, the more it's going to roll up, right? Now with that same brush, we're going to take that and just start to give it a few little flicks. Start to line up with your rotating lines, right? A few little things that happen inside there. And that's all that foam that gets rotated up in all the nasty mixture of the water. Leaving all of our dark areas as it's sucking up all that foam. It's very cool, right? Flat to the side, and then we start to rotate. Coming over to the side, and then we rotate up. That's how you get that curviness of the wave. Very cool. Really sharp rotations up inside the bottom there, but you want to leave that area nice and dark. Don't mess with it too much. All right, now let's take our liquid white. This is how we get that cool sandy beach kind of color. Take our liquid white, maybe a little bit of our yellow ochre, and we're going to blast that in with that liquid white right there, just so it's nice and runny. And then we're going to come in here, scrape it up, kind of dab it down as our water line, just like that. Just let it be just like that. Okay, we're going to come in here, we're going to see what it looks like. If it doesn't look all right, we'll change it, right? That's the cool part about it. Now, I'm going to come into there, really pull down, see if we can't get any of our wet sandy beach to light up, right? Continue it on over here. Even though you think it's not doing anything, it is. It's getting that little bit of color, right? Straight across to the side. Start sucking our wave up into our water. Now we have our wet sandy beach down there. Very cool. The whole thing is just shining. All right, now let's take our dark, because we have to have our water sit on something dark and heavy. Right? It's the base, it's the shadow underneath. Pull it off to the side, give it all this cool water. Right? Really let it come down, and then we'll get all these little mixtures. Very cool little thing. Right, way out here. Let's get the angle right here, Josh. Just like that. Boom, that's much better. Come back with our white, maybe a little bit of that yellow, some of the liquid white. And we'll start to suck some of that foam. Jiggle the knife just so it comes off differently in different places. Some of our liquid white in there. And just make it nasty. All right, come in here. Start to slide it up into our water. Different places, right? It doesn't all have to look the same. And that's the best part about it. It's never going to look 100% the same as it did before, right? And why don't we take just a couple of these little guys Just swipe them down, swipe them over, spread it, push it rough, push it hard. There we go. There we go. And make it work for you. Yeah, slide it out to the side. It changes it up just a little bit. Now let's come in again. We're going to grab, let's say we'll grab a little bit of that darkness out there. And maybe out here there's a little extra line of water out there, right? It's getting ready to get sucked back in. So let's get our liquid white back onto the knife, back over here into our little wet water section. And we'll come in and just start to lay it down, letting it pull itself straight back. Straight back. But you want to save some of that wet sand in between as well. Gotta save some of the wet sand. Take it on our fan brush, sliding it back. But again, not covering all of the sand. But we gotta have a little bit of foam out there somewhere. Somewhere there's some foam out there. La, 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 la. All right, I'll stop. Don't unfollow me, I'll stop. There we go, very cool. All about what you want yours to look like, right? That's literally it. I'm taking the knife, just feeding a little bit of dark back in there because it's never all gonna be light all at the same time. Very, very cool. All right, just straight down. Some of it's dark, which is okay. You can have shadows on your sandy beach. You can have shadows on the beach. Right, just from the edge. Very neat, like it's about to fall off and go down. And that's why we swipe it back. Swipe it to the side, feed it back towards the wave. Very cool. Very soft. Don't want to lose all of our little details. All right. Very neat. Very neat. There we go. A little bit of our bright white and just feed it back in there. Anywhere that you think you need it. Very cool. And a little bit of liquid white onto the edge of our knife if we can. We may have to get some more out of the old bin here. A little bit of liquid white. And then we're going to come in here with a little bit. Little things. It's all about the little details. All right, then we're going to take this and we're going to feed it back with our old fan brush. All right, take some of the edge, feed it back in. Not trying to cover everything, of course. Bring it down here even. Just like that. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. So lightly from the edge, right? You can always get rid of these guys over here. So light, so soft, such small little things. Let's put a big rock over here too. Now, if we're gonna make up a big old rock, we can need a little bit of our black, a little bit of crimson, a little bit of blue, a little bit of our brown. Why don't we just make it all up right here in our, right down here. Trying to make a new dirty spot. Mix it up, scrape it up, flatten it out. Be this nice, deep, dark color. It will look black. It's not going to be black, but it will look black for sure. For sure. Okay, now we're gonna get our fan brush. Seems to be the easiest way to do these big. So we're going to come over here with the dark color. We're going to take our last little bit, and maybe let's throw something out into here. Let it big enough so it really stands out down here in the front, right? And then we can let it trail its way off. And all this stuff, that's why we didn't add any color over here. We didn't do anything to this side, because it's all going to be covered by all this paint. You never really have to complete your entire painting if you have a plan to cover it up with a big giant rock in the front. That's what Bob always did. You're like, why doesn't he go to the side? Every time I used to do a mountain, I would want to go all the way to the edge of the canvas. And Bob never did because he knew he was going to be covering a big giant area with a big rock or whatever else. All right, take some more of that, just fill it in, covering all of our sandy color. Maybe not all of it, maybe we'll have a piece of it down here, or not, and just cover in the whole thing. All right, we got this big boulder right along the edge. Very cool. Very, very cool. And it's very textured with that thing. We're not going to try to spread it out at all. We're going to build something. We're going to leave a whole lot of it dark. Now we need to come in with our brown. Mix up our brown colors over here, a little bit of our yellow ochre. Seems to be the most gorgeous color to make these kind of sunsetty rocks with. So, a little bit of brown, a little bit of yellow. You can see how marbled it is in there. Pull off a little bit onto our knife, just a little section. And then we're going to come up and remember that not every bit of this rock is going to be lit. So maybe we got a little bit up here on the top. But not the whole thing, right? Just the top. Maybe down inside there, let it fall down. But it's falling into deep darkness here. We're not going to see the entire bit of rock. Maybe this guy was off to the side and then it rolled off this way. Or grabbed it from the front and made a little circle motion like that. Right, come over from this guy, pulling him to the side. Ooh, that's very bright. Very bright. Depends on what you want yours to look like. You can go back over it again and let it mix and become darker and darker. Kind of pulling it away back into the corner down here, right? Maybe there was a whole nother section that gets a little bit of light back in here and just connects with that area. Starts going down. You never know what it's going to look like until you try something new and try something fun, right? A little bit more of those two colors together. Our browns, our yellow ochre. Mixing it up, flatten it out. Come over here, maybe up inside there. That's another little piece that got connected down in here. Kind of pulling in different ways, different angles. Doesn't really matter much what it looks like. A rock is a whole big jumbled pile of nonsense, right? So, not going to see all the rock at all times is what we like to teach around here at Paint with Josh. Gotta have some very bright areas and some very dark areas to allow your mind to figure out what goes on inside there. What's happening in there, your brain will figure it out. It'll tell you, oh, there's some deep, dark rocks in there we obviously just can't see. And that's why the brain is awesome. It's an awesome thing. It is an awesome thing. It does the work for us that we don't want to do ourselves. There we go. A little bit of that guy. And then just, if you can, I like using the 2-inch brush just because it covers a little bit more space. But if you can, just go over them again with those same rounded angles, those little rounded swipes. This side we went down this way, so we have to follow those same angles. And it just makes it a little bit blurry to the eye. A little less super textured is all, right? Just a little. And that one area that was just giving me agita. I just couldn't figure it out why it was just bugging me. Right, maybe this guy goes all the way to the edge. Yeah. Again, very cool. Just differences, little different things, little bits of extra color that provide a different lip or something, some little imperfection, right? Maybe take some of the yellow, throw it in there. Maybe take some of the white. Get little streaks, little things that are happening inside of our wave are the most fun, trust me. They're literally the most fun. We can get a little bit more kind of watery look. Just like that. Very messy is what the water is. To me, that's all the water is. It's just a mess. Jumbled up, messy bits. Different little places where it's rolling in. It's never going to be all perfect, right? So, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Let's throw the family in, just so we don't get yelled at by the fans. That's never fun. A little bit of paint thinner, or low odor mineral spirits, or baby oil, or whatever you use to make your paint a little bit thinner so it sticks well, or however you clean your brushes. That's what you want to use. Let's grab the old maul stick, and maybe way off in here, let's throw the old family, just so small though. Now, if you don't know, the three birds, they represent myself, my wife, and my daughter, and they go into every single painting that Paint with Josh has ever done, ever. All right, I've missed a couple. There's a couple paintings out there that I've missed, that's for sure. That is for sure. All right, what if we took a little bit of this guy like he was just falling down in? Just Just wiggling the hand though. You don't want it to be too perfectly straight. Maybe some of them don't even go all the way, or he connects to this guy. All the angle. That's all we're working on is the angles, right? He comes from behind there. This guy's got a little bit of thing over here. If he comes over and connects, who knows? All sorts of little things we can do. But I like that one. Fantastic. Let's take our dark color on the brush and maybe down here where it's a little bit brighter. We'll take the old JK. Throw it down in there. There we go, just like that. Very cool. Well, guys, again, like I said before, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Not you guys. I want to thank you for tuning in and watching this video. I really hope you try it. I hope you send it in. And until I see you next time, take care. Have the rest of a good day. And you're like, I don't even know what he said. Ba-bow! That's the sound everybody waits for. You guys take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.